From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonder's Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wow Report 2025, where we count down the top 10 topics of the week that made us go wow. I'm Fenton Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder, joined by Tom Campbell, our Chief Creative Officer.
Howdy.
And James St. James.
I do want to just very quickly say that we are all safe and sound and that we will be talking about the fires later on. But I just right off the bat, I want everyone to know that we're okay. Thank you for the lovely texts and phone calls and well wishes from everyone. Thank you so much.
That's a beautiful thought. And I can't believe it is only early January. It feels like it's been a decade.
Feels like we're in the middle of June. This month is just never going to end.
Right. It just feels like a jam-packed several years in one week. All right. Well, let's start the countdown. Tom, number 10.
Number 10.
Before the fires, I went to see a movie but didn't get a chance to talk about, and I want to hear what you guys think. The movie A Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan story starring Timothée Chalamet as Bob Dylan. Now, just some context. I've never been, on the surface, I think I've never been a Bob Dylan fan. I know that you're supposed to worship him. It's like my family, I hate tomatoes and my family loves tomatoes and my mother grows tomatoes. And they used to talk about tomatoes and I knew I was supposed to love tomatoes, but I didn't love tomatoes. Now, that is, and I remember on like Mike Douglas and whatever. I don't, for some reason, Kate Hudson, because I feel like she's a contemporary, and Kate's like, oh, Dylan's everything. Dylan's God. Like she knows. Now, I say that, and then I thought before I went to the movie, which I didn't go to of my own free will, that Cher's first single as a solo artist was "All I Really Want to Do Is Baby Be Friends with You," which is a Bob Dylan song. One of Olivia Newton-John's first singles was "If Not For You," a Bob Dylan song that Diana Ross recorded Forever Young, a Bob Dylan song. So, in fact, I have enjoyed many a Bob Dylan song. Now, the joke up front is, wouldn't Bob Dylan, who's never considered to be the cutest guy alive, right? But it's being played by Timothée Chalamet, the hottest dude ever. So everyone was like, Bob Dylan's supposed to be very happy with Timothée Chalamet playing him. I'm like, yeah, I bet I would be too. It's an excellent movie, but it is a bio movie, and it's beautifully made, it's beautifully directed, it's beautifully acted. Timothée Chalamet is really great, although again, the movie star version of Bob Dylan. And Ed Norton plays Pete Seeger in a really compelling role. Two things struck me, and this does not, it's worth seeing, go see it, 5 thumbs up. Bio pictures, and this is a good one, because it doesn't try to like sum him up in a sentence or like, when his brother died, drowned in the bucket, that's when he became this person. No, it's like he's a confusing, unlikable, likable, talented guy, but just it captures the period well. I don't know how to say this, but it's like, you know how the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame until a minute ago was all just male, 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 male. This thing is very male. Joan Baez is
you got Joan Baez, who you must love.
Is depicted, but she's a side character. His girlfriend, they all are sort of waiting around. It just reminds me of a period where women defined themselves by men more so, I think, than they do now. And again, this is based on a book called When Dylan Went Electric. And it's all about, I know, but it's all about the Newport Jazz Festival. I'm just giving you my point of view. The Newport Jazz Festival and how he rocked the world, how he was going to be, he was fearing for his life because he was going to plug his guitar to step away from folk and go toward amplified music, rock. And the metaphor for all of us to learn is, Jesus Christ, people are afraid of change. Because at the end of the day, that's all I'm saying. Dylan brilliantly transferred from one era to another. And Pete Seeger, who was the purest in the movie and in real life, he spent his life dedicated to the pure, sometimes corny, folk music. And both can exist and both can happen. And all the world is full of music and types of things. Anyway.
Quick question. A Wimba Way. Is that Pete Seeger's, was that his original song?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was great to see them depict what old folk before the Beatles, and it was just like people would get together and they would sing. It seemed to really healthy and kind of community building.
Well, this is what I'm not understanding, Tom, because you seem like you were tailor-made for this period. This I can see you living in the folk era. I can see you being a Joan Baez super fan, like a Swiftie, following her around. And the beauty of it is so many biopics start when they're 14 and end when they're 90, and the actor has to play all those roles. This is that very specific time, and I think that's what works, is when a biopic just picks a window in their life and just is that 3 or 4 year period where he went from folk to electric, and how it just people were blown away.
You had texted me that you were crying and singing along during the movie.
I cried 10 different times during this movie when they start with Like a Rolling Stone, when they start with Positively 4th Street, when they start with those songs that in my turbulent teenage years, I clung to. And, Fenton, those songs are about Andy Warhol and Edie Sedgwick. Like a Rolling Stone is about Edie. So it's, you never turned around to see the faces of the jugglers and the clowns as they all did tricks for you. You shouldn't let other people get your kicks for you. That's about, and how does it feel now to be scrounging your next meal when you used to be a star and now you're nobody? And the chrome horse with the diplomat is Andy Warhol. The chrome refers to the silver factory. It's all right there. It's all, and amazingly, they didn't do the Andy side of all of it, but it's all so much embedded in who I am. And I thought Timothée Chalamet was just, I think he was just fantastic. And you say that Bob Dylan wasn't cute. He was a little bit of a twink. He was kind of a grungy little grunge god for a while there. I thought he was kind of cute. So I don't understand why you don't.
I really liked it. I recommend it, but the fact that I wound you up makes me feel so proud that I did my job today.
Well, I'm about to wind you up again.
I just want to chime in here because sat down to watch it last night with Nolan. I thought this would be a good thing for him to learn, and we planned to watch it. And Billy, and we got about 3 songs in, and we're like, I don't know if we can take this. And so it's interesting because I personally chime with. I've never liked Bob Dylan. I've never understood a single Timothée Chalamet's, I would say, underperformance is so brilliant because it's almost without affect. It's almost like he's just mumbling, but it's so powerful. And I have to get back to it for sure. But I was like, when Joan Baez comes along and sings that song, I was like, oh, for God's, is it going to be all like this? Like one long. I know. I mean, one long dreary song after another.
And happy rainbow.
I have to say though, that very end when he does plug in and he says Like a Rolling, it's so satisfying.
I'm gonna give it another go. We gave up and we watched A Real Pain, which is hilarious and weird with
Kieran, who's good.
Kieran Culkin.
I think Kieran might get Best Supporting. I think he's on soon.
But anyway,
and this movie is very much Oscar bait. This everyone in it, the subject matter, the performances, the time period, how it was captured. It was really amazing.
And I also think, by the way, Bob Dylan's always been very unfair about Andy Warhol. So just leaning into the popular.
That's for another show. That's for another.
Yes,
show.
Exactly. So let's move on to number 9, James.
Number 9.
Well, let's stick with the movies here because I saw Anora over the weekend and I have thoughts.
You mean the movie I said previously was one of my favorite movies, and I said maybe one of the best movies of all time.
That's where I'm getting to because Tom, I want to revisit it because when Tom spoke about it, he said it was one of his favorite movies of all time. That Mikey Madison's performance was up there with anything Betty Davis or Vivian Leigh or Katharine Hepburn ever did. That she is a shoo-in for the Oscar, and I just want to say, Tom, I'm here for you if you're having a nervous breakdown or if you're back on the sauce again. Okay. If you need someone to talk to, because by God, I don't understand. It's a 3-part movie. It's in 3 different parts.
Yes, I told you it's like 3 episodes. It's 3 episodes of something.
And the first part is they're on the party and they are living she's a stripper. He's a billionaire oligarch's, Russian oligarch's son, and he is the life of every party and everywhere he goes, and he drags her along and they fall into this just drug, sex, which I don't understand, Tom, because you don't like those kinds of movies. You don't like that.
Well, it doesn't stop there.
No. And what it is just in a nutshell is Pretty Woman. She's a hooker with a heart of gold who finds her prince. They marry and live happily ever after, except they don't.
Like,
except what happens after the happily ever after is
what did you think? Didn't you love the part where the parents come and that like it all changes?
My favorite bit that was when the oligarchs show up on the jet. Like, to me, that's when the movie kicks into
it just took my attention. I'm sorry I raised your expectations so high, but I just found myself glued to every frame, every moment. The fact that it was long didn't bother me. The fact that it switched gears was really refreshing. Yeah. And the very final scene, which I won't give away, it's just an emotional release.
But we have to talk about it a little bit, because that's the one that it makes me question the whole movie, because I got into an argument with my niece about it. And sorry, spoiler right here, but she has sex in a car with Igor, the guy who really loves her,
and what a surprising character that was. He came from nowhere. You fell in love with him. You didn't know you were doing it, and then you were in love with him.
Yeah, you were told, and he's the one who really does love her and understands her and wants to take care of her. And in the end, you sort of think, I took away from that this was a sweet charity moment, that she was going to live hopefully ever after with Igor, and that they were going to get together. Well, thinking that's what was happening. Well, my niece says no, that what was happening is that she realized that her life was going back to what it was, that she was just a whore, that all she had to give anybody was her body. She didn't have anything else to give to anyone. And that meant that she was going back to the strip club. Her life hadn't changed at all. And that's why she started sobbing halfway through, when she realized that this was all she was just this body, this pussy.
I took it as this, and this is what I got from it. And this is what moved me so much, because I feel like old habits are hard to break. Hello, all of us.
Yeah.
And so when that moment of intimacy comes, quote unquote, between them, that moment where they kind of realize they love each other, she gives him the same thing she gives everybody, her body. And that's real. I think of like, oh, now I'm a school mom. And then I just felt, after what she had been through for the last, 48 hours, how long the thing takes, it's like it just all hit. Like, she was so strong and tough and heart of gold and could talk her way or kick her way out of any situation. And then in the lap of the man she loves, I don't know if it's going to last or not, she just breaks down and is so sort of bare and raw in front of him.
But does she go back to the old life? Does she end up running off with him? Does she end up with him? What happens?
I don't know. I think Anora 2, which we'll run to the theater to see. Here's the thing, because initially it made me uneasy, because I thought, well, this is making sex work look kind of glamorous. And I thought, like, it doesn't mean, you can probably be you could be a sex worker and still have good days and still have self-esteem in some areas of your life. Do you know what I mean? It's like, the whole thing I thought was really challenged me to not just pigeonhole a sex worker.
Well, I don't think sex work is inherently not
right.
I guess it sometimes it doesn't work out. That's true. But no, I don't think sex work is inherently a bad or a good thing, right? But and I suppose maybe the frame in which we approach the movie is always through our preconceptions about what sex work is.
To me, because I have lived that life, I have been on the party, so to speak, where it's just you go from one extreme to the next night, to the next night, to the next day, to the next night, and it's just one long party, and you're with these kinds of crazy, someone who's very rich, someone who's a sex worker, you're with all these sort of people. To me, it was very. I know that. I know that sex work isn't inherently, shameful.
Right. But I know people go through it. People come from it, go through it, live their lives. And the fact that this character had agency, I guess she wasn't pimped until she reached the oligarchy, and then she could not win.
Yeah. So, there is your metaphor for this. As we all meet up with the oligarchy, we cannot win against them coming in the next 4 years.
All right. So we had A Complete Unknown. We talked about Anora, and now number 8.
Number 8.
The Brutalist.
Oh, I'm so glad you saw this.
And I'm going to do The Brutalist.
Wait, hold on. But before you even start, when I saw the name The Brutalist, I said this is a Fenton Bailey movie just by the name of the name alone.
I know. Soviet bus stops revisited in an epic way. The Brutalist. And I'm going to start The Brutalist versus Megalopolis, because the interesting thing about both movies is that they're both about architects, and they are both architects are played by people with giant noses. Adrien Brody and Adam Driver. They both have giant noses.
Would you suppose that the giant nose is a metaphor for their giant penis that you have to have if you're going to be an architect and play God?
Well, I come from a family of architects. I couldn't possibly comment, but I just think it's really bizarre that there are two architects both play, I think, very similar actors in way. I mean, great actors and very charismatic and powerful. So, who's seen The Brutalist?
I have not.
Oh my gosh. We went the day after New Year's Day. We went to a 9 a.m. screening because this movie is 3.5 hours long, and it's in 2 parts, and it's quite incredible and stunning. It is filmed not only on film, it is filmed in VistaVision. It's filmed in 70mm VistaVision, this sort of ancient format, legendary format. This is a 3.5 hour film. Do you know how much it was made for? Under $10 million. I have no idea how they did it. Now, Brady Corbett, who is an actor turned director, he's been in.
Wait, is he the mysterious skin?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I love him. Yeah,
he wrote and directed this, and the first it sort of tells the story of an immigrant who's an architect from the Bauhaus era, fleeing the Nazis and the war, and ending up in America, and it is incredible. It's not necessarily racing through a plot. You know, movies about architects are sort of, I don't know. I mean, James, you were just talking about the size of their penises, but architects seem sort of command some weird sense of magical power, whether it's massive organs or
it is very godlike. You're creating worlds, but it's also, I gotta go back to like on Rhines, it's like the Fountainhead. Is it the Fountainhead?
Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah, Atlas Shrugged, where Howard Rourke, and it's just what a horrible, horrible man he is.
I think architects are always seen as sort of sinister ego maniacs.
Yeah, control freaks. Yeah,
control freaks. But The Brutalist, compared to Megalopolis, I think is even more incredible, because Megalopolis, Tom, I thought it was just barely watchable.
I believe that The Last Showgirl was also filmed in VistaVision, because she talks about how it's an ancient, type of filming that they don't do now. It was just how beautiful it is to look at.
They had an intermission because it is 3.5 hours long, and that was kind of exciting to have an intermission. And then the second half, the whole thing kind of becomes a different movie. It's frustrating because what is so amazing in the first part, it goes off into a slightly melodramatic, slightly unresolved, hysterical territory, I would say. But I think if you like architecture and if you like movies about architecture, which I don't know that many people do, you should definitely go see The Brutalist. I think
that is just a singing.
And the credits alone are stunning. Let's take a break, Blake.
World of Wonder Orange is a specific Pantone. Who do we share? Like, what organization does World of Wonder share a Pantone color with?
We'll have the answer right after the break here on the Wow Report.
You're listening to World of Wonder's Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
And welcome back to the Wow Report. Aren't you glad you're here?
And that's because I asked, what World of Wonder Pantone is shared with what other organization?
I can see James is Googling it.
No. I'm going to say Fanta, the orange soda.
Close.
Could it be Hermes?
No, it's not.
That's interesting.
Gatorade.
I said organization because if I said sports team, then you might have guessed the Tennessee Vols.
Yes, I was just about to say the Tennessee Vols.
I guess, I mean, they're a big rival to Arkansas, so I guess that's a bigger deal with the other set of.
No, but Blake, you're reaching out to new viewers. You're really opening up the show. Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Did you know this before that I asked it?
No idea. I just thought it was a generic orange.
And I've already forgotten.
But I do think that if we did a little research, that I don't know how many degrees away the Hermes orange is, because it's very similar.
Well, the interesting thing about Hermes orange is, in fact, they actually don't stick to one kind of orange. They occupy multiple different shades of orange over the years. So
I think the one that the bag is a little more burnt than our orange,
right?
Like a little more brown.
With the boxing, though, the box is usually standard.
We are counting down the top 10 things of the week that made us go wow. We've reached number 7.
Number 7.
I want to bring up a topic, and I have lots of mixed feelings about even bringing it up, but I want to talk about Carrie Underwood agreeing to sing at the inauguration. And then James has since sent me the inaugural ball lineup, and it's upsetting as a gay man because Carrie has been very pro-gay. She's as a person who was raised as a Christian. She has a strong faith. Did Jesus take the wheel? And I personally don't find Christian values or respect of queer people any part of the new administration. So it seems upsetting that Carrie Underwood, who seems to be, she's not woke, but she's this modern contemporary version of country music, right? But I also don't want to get into the trap that we got into the last 4 years, or just the habit of just hating her and shoving her in a corner. And how do we process this? How do we process the new normal? Because he's going to be president for 4 years. There's a momentum.
We see everybody kneeling and kissing the ring. We see, Bezos. We see Gavin Newsom today kiss the ring because he needs the federal aid. So yes, there's going to be a lot of that. But I sent you guys that she lost 1.1 million followers on Spotify that day that it was announced. I also 1.5 million. But I also have a feeling what I think is going to happen is that sometimes these cancelings don't work anymore, as we saw with Target and Bud Light and everything, that people are outraged and, people are going to stop following her, but then I think in the long run, this will be good for Carrie. I think that she will get the base, and they will be super fans for life, and they will buy from her. And I think it will end up being good for her. And I think that whatever, like Bud Light or Target, that people will forget that they hate Carrie Underwood and will go back to liking Carrie Underwood again. I mean, I just don't see it mattering in the long run, except to benefit her, just like it benefits Rascal Flatts, just like it benefits Billy Ray Cyrus. And Gavin DeGraw. I don't know if you saw Gavin DeGraw was added to the lineup.
Yeah, but how come you haven't mentioned the Village People?
The Village People aren't the Village People anymore.
I know, right? It's like,
the Village People have all been replaced by MAGA Republicans now.
Yeah. Randy Jones certainly isn't there, right?
No, certainly not. No.
I noticed the Village People are performing not once, but twice. It's like, good grief.
They're all, the whole audience is going to do the double jerk off thing.
It's just so extraordinary to me that this ghastly Third Reich would have embraced, well, actually, frankly, one of the most awful songs ever written. I know it's a gay anthem, but it's still one of the, the YMCA is not a great song.
It is not Cole Porter. It is not Sondheim. No.
It's less of a gay anthem than it is kind of like a bar mitzvah anthem, right? It really is something that everyone could dance to, like on a bar mitzvah floor or something.
The best thing I heard about the whole Carrie Underwood thing is she going to perform before he cheats?
I know, which is one of her best songs. All about that stinking man.
Exactly.
Flashing his windshield before he cheats.
Number 6.
In
talking about the fires, which we're going to talk about in a few more minutes, there's so many stories that have come out of it, so many sad stories. But one thing that just bonkers, David Muir. Okay. David Muir, who is ABC nightly news anchor, handsome guy, good-looking guy, really just fantastic. But the MAGA people hate him. They hate ABC News. Trump is always going on about how much he's going to fine ABC News, that they didn't do the right thing. They didn't fact check him, or they fact check him, or they did something. I don't know, but MAGA hates David Muir. So during the fires, David Muir is in the Palisades, and he, embers are going around, the wind is blowing, everything like that. And he has a yellow fireman's jacket on that he's wearing. Okay. And at one point he turns from the camera to point to something, and you can see that there are clothespins on the back of his jacket, sort of pinning it together. Well, this exploded in the MAGAsphere. That pretty boy, that vain, he's in the middle of a tragedy and he's worried about having his jacket pinned. I can't believe it. How dare he wear a fireman's jacket? That's stolen valor in the first place, blah, 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 blah. Okay, in reality, there are 4 things that could have been happening there. The first is that there's an IFP cord that you have your battery pack and on your butt, and it goes up your back, and then it goes into your earpiece or your thing. And very often it was probably there to clip the cord in place, right? Number 2, the embers were flying all around, and you could have wanted your jacket to be tight so that embers would not be going into your jacket. That's very common during these situations. Also, the wind was incredible. It was a very windy day. That was the reason the whole thing started. So the jacket could have been flapping against the microphone, and you wanted to stop the jacket from flapping, so you're going to tighten the jacket. Those are 3 things. Now, the 4th thing is it could have been that his on-air producer, there was a hair and makeup people there, and that's just their job, and they just do it automatically, and they never thought for a second that it could be that there would be backlash to it, that's just what they do every time you're on the field. You pin things and you do things, and
I agree with you, because what people don't understand, which you get a little flavor, we've got a little flavor of, we're the lucky ones, but like LA is still existing. Like I'm saying, in a tragedy, you're still making jokes, you're still, like, what I'm saying, you're still living your life. It's not like it's this monolithic, like you wouldn't even, like you said, if they do that normally, they do it again. They wouldn't be like, I'm not going to.
There was no reason to think that this is going to but it did. It was on Fox News for 3 nights in a row. It was on, the Daily Mail did something
as
like
if the people on Fox News don't have hair and makeup before they
but that's just okay. It was in the day. There were like 15 articles in the Daily Mail. But the thing is, and they're like, all he is just a pretty boy. That's the only reason they hired him. Well, how is that any different than the 1,001 bottle blonde bimbos that are on Fox? Like, yes, we all like
with their cleavage,
and they all have the same hairdo, and there's 1,000 of them there. How is it any different? We hire a hot gay man for for our ABC News.
I swear to you, if they turned around, there'd be a million clothes pegs on their backs, and
exactly. So
probably on their skin, actually. Gene Pirro,
their faces are
substance. It's like a zip in the back.
So the whole thing was just a tempest in a teapot, and it was so awful to take away from the tragedy of the fire to turn this into a right versus left, MAGA versus woke.
But don't you think the next however many years it is going to be all about that, and it's going to be all about turning everything into a left versus a right thing?
It's
just crazy, some of the things they can demonize and weaponize and distort, and
it makes me so tense. And I have to find a way to be like Tom, where I'm not going to let it affect me. This is something that just made me crazy.
It affects us all. I'm just trying to cope. I get it.
I can recommend exactly what you have to do, and it is number 5.
Number 5.
I did a bucket list thing at the beginning of this year. I've always loved, I like bus stops, but I also like train journeys. I'm not really interested in trains, but I like anything where I can just sit and be left alone. So hence I like a plane ride. I like a train journey. And it's always much better to travel than to arrive. Love all that. So 2 people I don't know very well, Barry and Taraja, are a gay couple. I was talking to them back in the summer at that, Tom, what was that award show we went to?
Gay Critics Award, the LGBTQ Critics Award.
And I was just chatting, and they said, we're booking this train ride from Toronto to Vancouver, And I say, oh, that sounds great. You know, like you do. You just chat. And then they said, well, why don't you go? And you know what? I booked a ticket. Like 6 months ago, I booked a ticket, booked myself a cabin on this train. And from January 5th, Sunday the 5th, I think it was, for 4 days, I flew over to Toronto, got on the train and came back. And there's no Wi-Fi on the train. In fact, there's very little cell phone service for most of the journey because you
were just ignoring me that whole time.
How did
and it was like a Snowpiercer experience. It was absolutely good. I had a room. I had my own loo, my own shower, and it was magical. It was so awesome. And it wasn't like all through like the Orient Express might be. It's a real train. You know, people really are traveling by train. A lot of people, because there's a dining car and you have the meals. And so you end up actually meeting a lot of the people on the train because you're sat at a table of 4 and you are chatting. There are people who love trains. There's also people who don't like flying. It was just the best thing. And it was so relaxing.
When you say it, it does sound very relaxing. But it also feels a little bit like an Agatha Christie, like, you know, where, or The Lady Vanishes, you know, I mean, there's so many great mysteries on trains.
I remember as a kid once going on a sleeper train and the feeling of getting into bed as the train and just lying in the bed, watching the country go. It was so soothing and relaxing. And
it does sound really heavenly. It does sound nice.
It was. So I really recommend it. We got out, like every now and then you could get out at the station for like 10 minutes, you know, like once or twice a day in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. It was like minus 36. And minus 36 Fahrenheit. I didn't know this. Did you know this? It's exactly the same as minus Celsius. They are this minus 35 Fahrenheit is minus 35 Celsius.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because once you get that cold, they just don't bother counting anymore.
Yeah,
but you say that it wasn't all frou-frou and stuff, but I imagine there's got to be an element of luxury to it that just sort of. Yeah, I mean, you've got to sort of be able to sort of dive into that a little bit, right?
Well, yes. If I booked it's a bucket list. I'm not going to do it every day.
Yes,
I booked a prestige cabin, and you get your meals and all the drinks is just free. You know, and it's really.
And how big
is
there's
a car? You have your own, not your own car, but there's a car that's a 2-leg car. So there's a bar downstairs and a sitting room thing. And then you can go upstairs and it's a bubble dome and you can just watch the scenery go by.
Yes. Now, how big is your room? And is there a little couch in it? Is there a bed?
Yeah, they make the bed up for you. They put the bed down and it was like slightly wider than it was more like a twin bed or maybe almost a queen maybe. And then they put it up in the morning, and you've got a sitting area. You can sit.
And you have your own little bathroom.
Yep.
And
so there isn't room for James to crash on the couch. Just to be very clear.
I guess that cabin you can have 2. It's like a cabin for 2. But I was on my own. But I loved it, and I downloaded all these movies and podcasts and books, and I didn't actually watch or read or listen to a single thing. It was. Because it was just like looking at everything.
Yeah.
And
you were in real life, baby, IRL. I just want to congratulate you for making one of your lifetime dreams come true. That's inspiring to all of us. We got to do something.
That's very nice. Yeah.
If not now.
My mistake, and I'll tell you more about this in a minute, was thinking that it would be a quiet few days. But I know very sadly, the Vivian passed on the very first day. And I'll tell you about something else I discovered on the train that was like rocked my world. And then, of course, the last 24 hours, the fires started. And then it was a little anxious because there was no Wi-Fi, there was no cell phone, and you were like, what is happening? You know, so.
But you knew that Nolan and Elliot were in Palm Springs,
yes,
right?
And people started reaching out. And Nolan very sweetly, he said, oh, we're fine. Daddy's on a scenic train journey in Canada. Next up is the break. And we'll continue on with the Wow Report after this break.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. Fenton here with Tom and James and Blake. We're counting down the top 10 things of the week that made us go wow. Number 4.
Number 4.
I love the show Hacks more than life itself. I told you that. I love Jean Smart more than life itself. I told you that. Recently, it's been attributed in the press. I'm not going to say, I didn't hear her say it, but it's been attributed that she said that we should cancel all award shows moving forward, and the network should use that money and give it to the victims of all of the LA fires. This is again where everyone's like black or white, blue or red. It's like, here's my thought, because I think it's worthy to discuss for a minute, which is Bruce Valanche actually said it's a bad time to take people's work away from them, because people actually produce those shows and, networks do them to make money. But is there a way, and I don't know, I'm nervous that Hollywood could do this because it can get very Hollywood. And we have to be very careful that these fires, why we see a lot of the stories about rich people and Mandy, whatever, losing their houses, which is horrible. This is affecting every demographic.
From every strata of society is affected, yes.
But it feels like we always get, excited by the award shows. They tend to, because they're live, they tend to bring in lots of people. Why couldn't they somehow, and they're kind of stale award shows. It's hard to make them. Why don't they make them telethons in some way? Because it is hard. I'm sorry. It's hard to say, oh, we won an award when all this devastation is around. It's hard to make that turn. So,
but by the same token, I'm with you, Tom, that we need to get back to normal as soon as possible. We need to help everyone get back to their jobs and their. So I think that it's sometimes it's a feel good thing. I mean, it is fun.
Right. But I think there could be an element, and there may be an element they're planning on. But like even on Drag Race, when there was all the initiatives, and there still are, but many of the initiatives were about canceling drag in Tennessee and things. We started the Drag Defense Fund with the ACLU and with MTV, and we were able to put that QR code, and it helps raise some money. I mean, it's a different kind of, but like around the world, how can people help in a way that's
I like that. I like
a
having
little bit more meaningful than just saying something at the beginning. Something that
I do remember during COVID when they were going to cancel it, and then at the last minute they had like social distancing and people in different rooms, and it was outdoor, and it just didn't work at all. And so I sometimes think that the idea is to get back to normal as soon as possible.
I guess, but like, do you wear a big like $1 million dress, or do you wear something different, or does everyone? I don't know. Do you do it? I don't know. I feel like there's. I haven't brainstormed it fully, but it feels like there's an opportunity to do something special this year and to have Hollywood recognize everyone and raise money for people who really.
Well, I wonder if you could go back to like what the Oscars were during like 1942, 43 and see what they did then and how they.
Yes. Round tables, short speeches, like making it, I don't know, just making it more of a Rotary Club meeting or something, but very glamorous. The Chamber of Commerce, LA, comes together to help save the victims and support the victims. Anyway,
food for thought. Yeah.
Number 3.
Very quickly, I just wanted to acknowledge the passing of a soap opera legend, Leslie Charlson, who played feisty homewrecker turned beloved matriarch Dr. Monica Quartermain for almost 50 years on General Hospital, over 2,000 episodes. She was the heart of the show for many, many years. It's hard to explain, all the different storylines and everything like that. The last couple of years, she has been upstairs sleeping. She hasn't been on the show. They wheel her out once a year at Christmas or weddings or something like that. And there's sort of a running joke where she has a bodyguard, a Russian bodyguard who's like 25 and really hot. And the sort of it's insinuated that they're sleeping together. She's like a woman in her 80s and the 25-year-old hot bodyguard. And they're always sort of flirting with each other. But anyway, it's just very sad that it's on the show. General Hospital has lost so many people over the past couple of years.
Unless you watch a soap opera, as we did for many, many years, and you still do, it's like it's impossible to know the loss you feel when Monica Quartermain passes away.
Literally, I have watched the show for the 50 years that she's been on. I remember her first episodes.
Yes.
And soap operas are a through line for me, that no matter what is happening in my life, I know that my soap opera family is there, and that I know their stories. I know all of their stories going back 50 years.
And there was comedic elements to her storyline, the Quartermains, and there's also the high drama of Luke and Laura, and is also through it all.
And I do remember, just very quickly, for many years, she was cheating with Rick Weber, and her husband Alan Quartermain was always trying to kill her, and he was always trying to blow her up, and then he'd get blown up. Or one time he had the nursery was going to collapse on her, and it collapsed on him, and like he just shot her, and then like the gun went off, and it's just for years he was trying to kill her.
Fabulous, classic, over the top soap
over the top. And there's online, I posted something where she and Leslie were arguing over Rick, and we used to lie in bed and laugh at you, and how you could not make love, you don't know what passion is, and Leslie goes off and slaps the shit out of her, and she falls to the ground. Just so many of those moments.
And isn't that someone else who passed?
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm very sorry. Very, very quickly, to throw this in. As we going on the air today, we learned about the passing of David Lynch. And when you think of what David Lynch means to people of my generation, at least, where Eraserhead, Blue Velvet, Elephant Man, all of the Twin Peaks, Lost Highway, all of those just nutty things that influenced so much of the 80s and 90s. What did you guys think? What did you have a favorite?
The dancing chicken from Eraserhead.
Yeah.
It's just unlike anything else. Tom, you've seen it, right? The carcass of the chicken is dancing on
and the woman in the radiator. Yes, with the melted woman in the radiator.
And balls in her cheeks or something. I can't.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Well, rest in perfection, David Lynch and Leslie Charlson. All right, number 2, very quickly.
Number 2.
So I was on this train, no Wi-Fi, no real internet. Thinking, this is a quiet week. Nothing's going to happen. I get an email. Well, actually, I get an Instagram message. And it says, hello, blah, blah, blah. Getting in touch. My elderly mom was friends with your mom and dad, and there's something I want to talk to you about. Can I get an email?
That feels like phishing. I hope you didn't do it. That sounds like a scam. What's going on? Go ahead.
I did. I get an email back. I have a half sister I didn't know about.
What?
Yes. She's practically the same age as me.
What?
Yes, I know. I was like,
who was sleeping with who?
Like, I am on this train. I am on this motherfucking train trying to check out, and it's like there's the fires, and then there's this big reveal.
These DNA tests are ruining everything, because that people have been having sex since the beginning of time. That people have been having sex outside of their marriage, and probably people didn't even know who made them pregnant half the time.
How did she find out? And are you going to demand it in DNA?
She did one of those tests, right? And that's how she found me on Instagram. And I know so little information. It's completely sort of developing. But I can tell you that she and her daughter and her granddaughter watch and love Drag Race.
I was going to say, and her name is Joanna Lumley.
But are you going to meet up? Are you going to have a trip and see each other?
It is literally just all brand new. And I'm curious.
What's your initial reaction? Are the shock? Once the shock wears off,
it is very shocking, because you would have from a point of view of our family, you just wouldn't. It just wasn't on the agenda, I suppose. You know what I mean?
This is different than the twin that you ate in the womb, right? That's different.
I'm just,
oh my gosh, it's hard to even have a reaction. That's amazing news.
Right?
I've heard of this in other families, and I've heard very good things. I have a cousin that came out of nowhere who lives in Vegas that I didn't know about. That was a DNA test, and a bachelor uncle that had a fling in Vegas, and now there's a 30-something-year-old man.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
weirdly,
definitely-
I've done the DNA test and I was adopted, and it will not give me anyone closer than a third cousin. It won't. I've been on it for 4 years and I do it, and I maybe sometimes get a second cousin once removed or something like that, but it doesn't get close. It doesn't give me close to anyone.
Is that 23andMe or Ancestry?
I did both. I did both Ancestry and 23andMe, and neither one will give
Which
me.
just reinforces the conspiracy theory that James St. James is from outer space.
Yeah, there we go.
No, I think it's a Freemason thing. I honestly do.
Well, okay. To be continued, I guess. More revelations to come. But yeah, going to take one more break. When we come back, number one.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. We've been counting down the top 10 things of the week that make us go wow. Here in LA, there's no way around it. It's been an epic week.
Number one.
You know, like the rest of the country and the world, we're observing a lot of it. We're hearing a lot about it. We're watching on TV. We are incredibly lucky. My short story is that there was after we pre-taped on Wednesday, James, Fenton, you were away. A fire broke out in Runyon Canyon, which is a mile from my house, and the evacuation was stopped 2 blocks before my house. And I was like, my brother and sister were just like, get out. So I have the kiddies. We came to Palm Springs. And I've decided to stay here to the end of the month. And I hope that doesn't make me a wimp, because I love LA so much I could cry. I love Los Angeles so much. And I'm so sad for all of the pain people are going through. But I feel like right now I can help from far away, that I am, you know, things like the air quality things. I'm lucky that I can be away. And you know, we've had 2 people at World of Wonder who've lost everything, donating to them initially and trying to figure out, you know, of course the fires have to be contained, but what are we all going to do moving forward? This is something unlike local politics, where I think we can individually help and make change and aid people.
Well, it happened so quick, and as we were watching the fire on the news and how it's spreading and just the devastation and everything like that, and my phone was just blowing up. People I haven't talked to in 20 years. Yeah. You know, the way everybody was reaching out and everybody was so worried and you know, I knew that where I was, I think was safe. I thought it was safe, but then when it jumped over the canyon, and I called Tom immediately, and it just how scary it went down Hollywood Boulevard. It was going towards Hollywood and Highland.
Yeah. World of Wonder was in the evacuation zone. The offices were in the evacuation zone.
Yeah, and calling everyone at work, saying, you know, is the security guy still there? You know, he was staying there in case there was looting for a while, and I just kept thinking, like, you know, it just got so scary so quick. But the nice thing is how everybody is pulling together, and everybody, like I said, I've never gotten so much love and people worried, you know, and I was making wellness checks on everybody I know. You know, it was just it's weird what happens during times of crisis, you know, the good and the horror.
I'd just been at the office and left at like 5:30. I think the evacuation warning got at like 6, but I got out just in time, because right after I got home and turned the news on, I heard it on the radio. You saw that there were like a traffic jam on Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah. Oh, the traffic jam getting out. If I wanted to get out, I don't think I could have.
And the day before, we saw all those cars being plowed away in the Palisades so people could escape the hills. It was just, it's, you know, again, thank God we've landed on our feet. And I'm saying, people are calling to say they love me, and I'm calling to tell people I just told like Jenna at Bravo, I love her. Like any executive, anyone I'm talking to, because I have such warmth for all the people, and we all live such blessed lives.
It is amazing how people have reached out. That is very, very touching and so thoughtful. And so I think we're also sorry for those who have lost their homes. If there is a silver lining, I have to say, for a fire of this size, that I think
that we didn't lose
so few lives
thousands. Yeah,
I mean, you said that. It's remarkable in a way. It's remarkable.
It is remarkable, and so it's not infuriating, but it is lamentable. All the misinformation and the conspiracy and the sort of
what's going to help right now. a lot of these mysteries and questions and systems. Yes, let's get into that immediately. Let's put blame where blame is at. But this idea of using this as a political weapon is disgusting. It's like help people, and we don't know everything. And I do think this was the global warming. This might not be the last time something like this happens, but it was the perfect storm of those winds and the fire and the drought. And
well, when you think about what happened in North Carolina, when you think about the hurricanes in Florida, you think about the hurricanes and the grid problems in Texas, it feels like these problems are happening at an accelerated rate. And we need to get a hold of what is causing it and to deny that there is some sort of climate element to all of these stories.
And rebuild stronger and better,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, that's all we got time for this week, but God willing, same time, same place next week.
Yes.
Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go,
wow.